Nothing beats a Jet2 holiday. And right now, you can save £50 per person. That's £200 off for a family of 4. Nothing beats a Jet2 holiday. And right now, you can save £50 per person. That's £200 off for a family of 4. Nothing beats a Jet2 holiday. And right now, you can save £50 per person. That's £200 off for a family of 4. Nothing beats a Jet2 holiday. And right now, you can save £50 per person. That's £200 off for a family of 4. Nothing beats a Jet2 holiday. And right now, you can save £50 per person. That's £200 off for a family of 4. Nothing beats a Jet2 holiday. And
all right, and we back. I know y'all thought I wasn't coming back. I had some business to take care of. I literally just walked in the door from a village meeting that I had to attend. We back. We are back. If you can, hit the like button. Hit the share button. Let somebody know your girl is on. We're going to pick this conversation back up that we were having earlier today. Baby, listen, earlier today, my brain was exhausted. Do you hear me? My brain was literally exhausted trying to reconcile what I was reading all right. Hold on 1 second. I gotta get it so I can bring you guys up so I can see your comments without me having to. Let's see here. Okay, we got 5 people. Probably don't nobody care, which is fine. No problem with that. I'm just trying to get information to the public. If you will, please hit the like button, share, subscribe. Welcome back to everybody. If you haven't caught up on the videos, I'll tell you right now, you got lots of videos to catch up on, okay? If you need to catch up on videos, you got a lot of videos to catch up on. And we not gonna stop. We gotta keep our foot on the gas because it's election time. And so we got the ballot information. I got it all almost all ready for y'all to go. Well, I got a portion of it. We're gonna start with a portion of it tomorrow afternoon. I have to tend to something early in the morning. So hey, how you doing, Shawnee? Thank you for the super chat. You back? Okay. I love it. Love to see it. I hope you're well. Okay, let me get over here and speak so we can get back to this conversation in case anybody cared about the conversation we was having earlier. Okay, let me see who up in here. Let's see. Miss Shawnee, she's back. I love that she's back. Missed her so much. Missed you too. Hey, Jim C, what's going on? Let me see. This screen over here is moving. I don't know. See, this new system that I got looks different. And the screen is black, so it looks different. Okay. Anybody else want to speak? Anybody else? Hey to everybody in the bushes. We're not doing over here. We're not doing anything here. but learning. That's all we doing. We learning, we talking, we having a community conversation um, about the recent going on. If you missed the live from this morning, let me try to recap you. Okay. And try to recap you if you haven't had time to watch it. Hey Javar. If you have not had time to watch the one from this morning because it was like 2 hours long. I mean, it's nothing I can really do about it because we really, we got to talk about these things, but then we got to read these things to be able to understand the full picture of what's going on, right? We can't be having partial information now because we need to be able to make an informed decision, so we can't do partial information, right? Right. What up, Wyoming gal? You back? You back? Okay. Thank you. Thank you for joining. Thank you to all my mods for being here and making this a welcoming space for everyone to be able to express themselves and to also, learn and all of those things. Okay. Now we nice over here, but don't make us get nasty because we can. Okay. But we nice over here. What's up, Conscious? What's going on? What is going on? Conscious, I don't know if you was able to catch our live early, but I'm gonna catch everybody up. So, all right, let's do a little quick, 1-2 recap. Cause Lord, we still got a lot to cover, right? Right. So this morning, we cleared up what the previous administration was. Somebody in the chat tell me what the previous administration was. Hey, Deb Hill. They had a special meeting last night for the $33 million lawsuit settlement, which is Aja Seats versus the Village of Dalton. This morning, we began to read the complaint because a lot of inaccuracies were spoken about at this meeting. Hey, Candia, how you doing? At this meeting. For one, they kept saying the previous administration. So if you tuned in, you felt like the previous administration was Tiffany. That's how you felt. If they say previous administration, previous to the House administration, it was the Henry administration, right? Wrong. So the lawsuit originated in 2016, which was the administration of Riley Rogers. Okay, so when they were saying previous administration, they forgot to add a previous because it would have been previous administration. That's how that should have worked out, but it didn't for some reason, whatever reason. Okay, and so the incident occurred October 9th, 2016. The lawsuit was filed 2019. And again, Riley Rogers' administration was the administration that was in office. So lawsuit 2019, judgment for the case finally came in August of 2022. Okay? Everybody with me so far? The case originated in the Riley Rogers administration in 2016. Filed in 2019. Judgment in 2022. We are now in 2026. Judgment came down in 2022. This case was being handled by Bert Olson. Who was it at the time? I think it was Olson, Murphy, Stirk, Frazier, and McGrath at that time. Okay? So, Tiffany inherited this debt when she took the seat over in 2021. So after her first year in office, the judgment for this case came down. So she inherited this debt. She did not make this debt. She did not appoint the police chief at this time. She did not hire Lacey. She did not do any of those things. And I don't actually know who did. We don't actually know who opened, as we found out in the court case today, we actually don't know who opened the back door, because we were told that it was a back door that was open. I can't even believe I can't even believe that lawsuit says that there was a back door that was opened for these two police officers who had already had numerous offenses. So let's go now to where we left off. Again, if you want to follow along, because you don't believe me, you don't know about my receipts, then go to the description of this current broadcast. Okay, go to the description of this current broadcast, click on the hyperlink. It will take you to the Lovey website, the Lovey and Lovey website, and you can follow along. You just scroll down to the bottom, click on, it says the case can be found here, and just click that hyperlink and it'll open up the case. We are, again, in the book of Lovey and Lovey. We were on verse 27. Okay. In the middle of the battle of Aja seats in the village of Dalton. The last we read 27, which says, thus it appears that the hiring of defendants, Perez and Lacey, was extraordinary as to each. Oh, wait, I moved the page. No, it was 27. It was. And was hired through the back door. There go that line again. I can't even, I'm telling you right now, I still cannot believe that they wrote this in a legal document. Instead of being vetted as part of standard law enforcement, defendants Perez and Lacey should never have been hired. And if they had not been hired, they would have not been placed in the position to harm the plaintiffs. And I'm going to ask you again to spam the chat with hashtag justice for Alexis Wilson, because these lawyers had already proved that those two officers should not have ever been hired. And we know for a fact, if one of them hadn't, Alexis Wilson would still be alive. All right, so we're going to see what count 5, Village of Dalton's breach of duty to train and supervise. We already found out that Lewis, Lacey, and Perez did not receive any type of training, nor did they go through, I guess, police academy, nor did they take any type of testing. No psychological tests, no, what did they say? Lie detector tests? None of the tests. They didn't take any of that, and they were not eligible for waivers, but they didn't take any of it. The Dalton Police Department at all times, I'm reading number 29. Relevant had a duty to properly train, supervise, and discipline Dalton Police Department officers in relation to police pursuits. The Dalton Police Department breached that duty by failing to properly train, supervise, and discipline the agents involved in the instant complaint of chase in the particulars described above and incorporated herein by reference. All right. Let's see what else they say. I'm just going to try to skip to the important parts, see if we did learn anything else. The duty of hiring. I told you that we learned that they didn't go through any of the regular channels. They went through a back door. All right. These are the liability ramifications that they're setting out, the duties of indemnification. Who is that? Mr. Try. Hey, Mr. Try. Hey, Gardis. How you doing? So let's see what number 11 says under 9. Dalton Police Sergeant Lewis Lacey, Dalton Police Officer Ryan Perez, and unknown defendant Dalton police officers who participated in the chase were employees of the village of Dalton who acted within the scope of their employment in committing the misconduct described herein. I'm trying to make sure I'm not missing none of your comments. Okay, so let's see what they say. This is a negligent against, this is Sorrells. Sorrells, I think, was the other officer, which I told you all. I did not know if he was still working there. This was the driver. Demetrius Sorrells was the driver. Defendant Demetrius Sorrells owed the deceased John Christopher Kyles and Dwayne Dumlett the duty of ordinary care. Defendant Sorrells breached that duty by driving at an excessive rate of speed and ignoring police commands. As a direct and proximate result of one or more of the aforesaid negligent acts and or omissions by defendant Sorrells, plaintiff's decedent died and plaintiff Dwayne Dunlap was catastrophically injured. So Sorrells was the driver. So I would assume that he's been arrested, charged. I don't know charged with what. I'll probably look that up later and let you guys know an update on what actually happened to him. He was the driver that Kyles and Dunlap were his passengers. They were riding with him. You know, the risk that you take is, you know, when you're riding with people is that you don't know what they're going to do if, you know, the police put their lights on. You know, you don't know what their personal business is. All right. Now we're going to read this spoliation because we heard McGrath say that part of the judgment came was because they spoiled evidence, meaning that they either turned off dash cams, they erased footage, and so they spoil evidence. But the way that he was acting, we're gonna look at this video. The way that he was acting was as if somebody else did it. No, the evidence was actually in your possession, so you did spoil evidence if in fact you did delete any files, any videos, and you can't produce them, or the dash cams were turned off. So, that's something. It's probably something that they skipped the training on because they hadn't been trained anyway, that we found out in this lawsuit. We should get a wanted poster together looking for the insurance company. I know that's right. Let me see, can I make one? Let's read this spoliation. Defendant Perez's squad car was equipped with dash cam video and audio recording ability, which provided that upon the squad car's emergency lights being activated, the dash cam automatically turned on. Defendant Perez activated his emergency lights. Dalton, however, had not produced the dash cam video and audio. Either defendant Perez failed to preserve the dash cam video and audio after the conclusion of the chase, or he destroyed the dash cam video and audio after the conclusion of the chase. Or C, he deliberately and intentionally disabled the automatic turn on the dash cam video and audio record function at some point either before or after the chase. Dash cams are installed in police squad cars for the protection of the public. Dalton has internal rules and regulations which require dash cam video and audio creation and retention upon squad car emergency equipment being activated. Now, everyone that lives within the limits of Dalton, if you get lights turned on you by Dalton police, you just read that. Did you hear that? I didn't say it. I just report the news. I did not say it. I read it. So if you're in Dalton, your rights are being violated. They turn the lights over on, which they would have to do in order to pull you over. Their dash cams automatically start recording. So if they pull you over just to harass you, yada, 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 when they come to your window, you should ask them, is their body cam turned on? And you should also ask them, is the dash cam in their vehicle working? If they say no to either one, you should ask for a supervisor. Because you are what? Breaking the law? Willfully and wantonly, huh? I'll tell you one thing we're gonna learn. We're gonna learn some legalese over here. Okay, we're gonna learn some of this legalese. Okay, it says Illinois state standards require creation and preservation of dash cam video and audio. It's a Illinois state. So listen, wherever you at listening to me in Illinois state, if you in Illinois state and you get pulled over and a police officer treats you inappropriately, calls you all types of names or whatever, get that dash cam footage. It's a Illinois state standards require. Dalton has admitted, wait a minute. Hold on, let me brace myself on this table, because anytime that these lawyers have written what Dalton has admitted, it's been awful. I don't know that I'm ready for this. I told you early this morning I was spent. Lord, here we go. Dalton has admitted in a memo from a Dalton police supervisor that Dalton failed to preserve dash cam. So who spoiled the evidence? Dalton did. Lord have mercy. The state standards and the village's internal standards created a duty upon defendant Perez to create and preserve dash cam evidence. So I'm so confused as to why Carl Wilson wasn't given all of the dash cam footage at one time. And then when she was given it, some of it was missing. Lord have mercy. The mechanics, Lord, now they snitching on the mechanics, Jesus. Lord have mercy. Poor mechanics just doing what they was told, Jesus. The mechanics of the Dalton dash cam system automatically records audio and video and is retrievable by the patrol officer's commanding officer for 16 hours after the event. Thus, a secondary internal duty was created, but because defendants Perez and Lacey concealed the chase from their commanding officers, Their commanding officers failed to act to preserve the video and audio within the 16-hour time limit. If you lie, you'll cheat. If you cheat, you'll steal. Lord have mercy. Even if the state and defendant village had not created standards as to the officer conduct as to creation and preservation of dash cam video, which it did, a reasonable person in defendant Perez's shoes should have foreseen that the evidence was material to a potential civil action or criminal action. And again, even if the state and defendant village had not created standards as to officer conduct, as to creation and preservation of dash cam footage, which it did, the village assumed the duty by creating and preserving video in this particular case as soon by the preservation of dash cam video of Officer Bruno. The fourth squad car to arrive at the chase termination point. Officer Bruno arrived approximately 2 minutes later after driving a different route at 86 miles per hour, such that the chase is not depicted in his video. A duty was further created by plaintiff's October 17th, 2016, we in the Riley Rogers administration, letter hand-delivered to Dalton Police Chief Collins, directing his attention to the probate nature of the dash cam and GPS and directing Dalton to retain such evidence. The preservation order in this case, entered October 21, 2016, further required Dalton to preserve evidence, including dash cam video and GPS records. Outstanding discovery requests, both in the criminal case and the instant case, further created an affirmative duty upon the village of Dalton to preserve evidence. In light of the circumstances, it was the duty of defendant village of Dalton individually and through its agents, including counsel, to exercise ordinary care and caution to preserve the integrity of evidence material to this potential and actual civil action arising from the chase and crash. In addition to failing to preserve dash cam video and audio, defendant Perez either intentionally or unintentionally pressed a button on his GPS unit. Man, this man was pressing a whole bunch of buttons through these high-speed chases, Jesus, on his GPS unit during the chase that disabled the ability of this GPS unit to record his maximum speed, resulting in a blank maximum speed entry during the chase. So he, you know what? I know it sounds like my mic cut out. I'm just flabbergasted. I don't know, because he would have had to turn these features off, right, before he started his shift. Who told him to do that? Said action violated Dalton's internal standards. And in addition, defendant Perez had assumed the duty of preserving evidence of his maximum speed in that he recorded his maximum speed prior to and after he turned off that function. Defendant Dalton further engaged in spoliation by failing to preserve the audio of Officer Bruno's dash cam. Now, he showed up to the scene after, and they deleted, you know what? And failed to preserve dash cam video and audio as to officers McNeil, Johnson, and Sheehan. we now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 officers on the scene breaking the law. 6 of them. 6 of them. Not nobody recording. Nobody making sure that it's being recorded. Dalton participated in further actions and inactions spoliating evidence, but those other actions are as yet unknown. In that, defendant Dalton has not yet complied with discovery as to spoliation. Now, that man, that lawyer in the meeting, and we're going to watch it in just a few seconds, in just a few minutes, when he said, we got a ruling because of spoliation of evidence, he made it sound like, oh, it was just one little thing. Not everything. What? The way he said it, I felt like, okay, because if one piece of evidence is missing, you can consider that a spoliation, right, of evidence, because you're missing part of something and you don't know if it was crucial or not. So it's spoiled. The evidence has been spoiled, right? Somebody said that's crazy. Someone had to give that suggestion for them all to do it. Okay. I'm thinking, okay, it's one, some isolated incident, because legal, is based around technicalities. What you're trying to do is you're trying to find a technicality that somebody slipped on and get in there, get you a judgment. I'm thinking, okay, it's one thing. What? Sir, y'all didn't leave yourself nowhere to go in this entire case. Okay. The city is responsible under responde superior for the actions of its agents. As a result of one or more of the negligent acts or omissions of intentional acts or omissions of defendant Village of Dalton through its employees and agents, known and unknown, plaintiffs have been injured in their to prosecute and enforce their legal rights against the Village of Dalton. Defendants and have been irrevocably prejudiced by the destruction and or modification of the aforestated material evidence as above described. I mean, basically the whole entire case, they spoiled because they deleted, they cut off, and he said they still hadn't at this point in 2019 turned over all of the discovery that they were supposed to. Lord. As a direct and proximate result of said destruction and or modification, plaintiffs are severely prejudiced in their ability to prove the underlying suit against the Village of Dalton defendants. Wherefore, plaintiff prays for judgment against defendant Village of Dalton in excess of the jurisdictional limits of the law division of the Circuit Court of Cook County for costs with interest in bringing this action and for such other relief for plaintiffs as the court deems fair and just. And then their attorney signs, they go Lovey and Lovey and all of the other attorneys that, man, that's insane. That's insane that this lawsuit talks about so many processes and things in Dalton that needed to be addressed that each administration still is not choosing to address. Huh? And you got some of the same people from these administrations not addressing these things. that's man, that's crazy. That's a crazy lawsuit. Okay, so then I want to take you to, then we're gonna go fast forward. Okay. Now, here's what we're gonna talk about now. So the judgment came down in 2022. We know during this time in 2022, Tiffany took office in 2021. So Tiffany hasn't been in office for a little under or there about a year. Okay. She's been in the seat for that long. This whole time, Bert Olson, they actually had Shawnee Rains Welk as their village attorney at one point. I can't remember. I think Anselin Glink was the one of the attorneys. Bert Olson and them were retained under Riley Rogers because that's where this case originated. That was the previous administration, the previous administration that this originated from. So let's talk about Lil Stakes' role that she played in this. This was not her situation or her lawsuit. This was not her situation or her lawsuit. It was something that she inherited to her seat. Much like the village of Harvey's mayor tried to, he inherited a lot of things when he got his seat. He inherited $140 or $60 million debt from not paying the police and fire pension. So that was something that he inherited. This case is something that Tiffany inherited, right? So if you're looking at the screen now, I'm going to make this bigger so that you guys can see it. And so they got the judgment in 2022. Hold on one second. So they got the judgment in 2022, right? Once they got the judgment, no movement was made. So at that point, it would have, I guess, gone into what they call negotiations for the settlement, right? And this is where McGrath says that they told the insurance company that was not named, we're going to see that in a second, that was not named, to settle. Because at that point, the family only wanted $8 million. Their insurance was for $10.5 million. $10.5 million. The family at that point only was asking, they said, okay, $8 million. McGrath said that the board agreed. They was like, okay, we will pay that. But they claim that the insurance company refused to settle. Now, I don't know about you. I don't know about you. Because he compared this insurance to like car insurance. Who was watching that live with me when he said, it's like car insurance, you you got coverage and you got this much coverage and they gonna pay out this much and then you responsible for the rest, your deductible or whatever. Who was watching that live with me when he said it was like car insurance? Because this is what I want to say about car insurance. So when you get an accident with somebody and it's your fault and the insurance have to pay them, right? They do everything in their power to make it difficult for the other person to get paid, right? But the other person's insurance is like, no, you're going to pay this. This is what you have to pay because this is what the car is worth, right? So when your insurance company comes back to you and say, this is the estimate, this is what we're going to have to pay, right? And this is what your coverage is. and they tell you you're covered, you're covered, we can pay it, you're covered. So you say, okay, pay it. And the car insurance company gonna say, no, we're not gonna pay it. We gonna drag out this litigation. And for what? Because how that's gonna benefit me? Because my premium already gonna go up. My question is, why would the insurance company be like, no, he agreed to settle, but we ain't gonna pay him? I'm asking a question. Hey, sure. Why would the insurance company, why would they tell their lawyers, tell the insurance company, okay, we'll settle for $8 million. You said that the insurance was 10.5. We're going to settle for $8 million. Why would they say no and go into litigation? I'm so confused about that. The name of the insurance company and Riley Rogers' name was deleted from that lawyer's brain. Man, he did not know who that insurance company was. It was on the slide, the insurance company. I was like, oh, is the name of the insurance company the insurance company? But let me tell you, hold on one second. Let me see, can I find this? Well, I'll do it in a few minutes. Because I don't want to keep y'all too long. People be complaining about my videos. I don't want nobody to be complaining about my videos. So here's the thing, right? Lori Lightfoot did a report. And in the report, she had the insurance information. So I'm going to go back in her report tonight. And if I find the name of the insurance company in there, I'll send you guys a message. I'll post about it, and I'll put a screenshot of that page of the Lori Lightfoot thing in there, because I have the Lori Lightfoot report. I have both of them. So because she talked about the insurance, because, Lil Stank was having a problem getting coverage. So she was showing how much the village of Dalton was having to spend on insurance because of that, right? And it was like upwards in the millions of dollars, right? Right. Sure. I'm trying, sure. I have a studio in my home, but it's in my home, right? So, and what time is it? So it's 10-something. So my kids, when I get excited and I be talking really loud, they be looking at me sideways when I come out of my room, when I get off my broadcast. So I'm trying to, I'm just trying to keep my excitement down. Insurance companies usually just want to settle, not go into eat. Well, that's my point. That's my point exactly, right? They're going to be like, oh, we gonna be done with this. We're not going to keep going with this, because if we keep going with this, we don't know what might happen. We just pay them, right? Why would you go into the unknown as an insurance company? Because you don't know what the judge could bring down once they won. But anyway, okay, so what you're seeing right now is this right here was filed by Lovey and Lovey in June 20th of 2024. So 2 years ago. So remember now, they got the judgment in August of 20. And $2 million per year, that's what McGrath told us, was the interest amount that accrued for every year that they pay them. So they filed this right here in the appellate court. See this say, Aja Seat, special administrator for a deceased person, John Christopher Kiles, and Sabrina Wright, guardian for Dwayne Dunlap, a disabled adult. Okay, versus the village of Dalton. This is in the appeals court. So this is for the judgment for the spoliation of evidence. It says the order, we affirm the jury's verdict in the plaintiff's favor on their claim of spoliation of evidence over defendant's contentions that the trial court should have bifurcated Plaintiffs' willful and wanton spoliation of claims. They did it on purpose. Okay? And so then they go into, when everything happened, October 9th, 2016, they go into the jury. That this was a jury trial, and the jury awarded the plaintiffs $33.5 million in damages. And I could guarantee you that it had a lot to do with Dwayne Dunlap ending up being in a wheelchair and not even being able to take care of himself any longer. He has to be taken care of 24/7 by someone else. And so, I'm sure that they were thinking about his quality of life and all of those things whenever, they came up with this number and this judgment. And so they filed this as an order to get payment because it's now 2024. They got a judgment in 2022. It is now 2024. So $2 million for 2022, $2 million for 2023. Now we in 2024, 246. They already had $6 million worth of interest. Okay? They already at $6 million worth of interest. This goes through what happened, a little bit about what happened, the police chase, which we already read. Then it tells when the judgment came down, August 3rd, 2022. Y'all, they put in here what Lacey testified to. This man made a whole U-turn to go. Listen to this. Lacey testified that he was on duty as supervisor on October 9th, 2016. First of all, he should have never been supervisor and he should have never really been on duty. Y'all heard that man went through the back door. He didn't go through the police academy and he did not get any training. At approximately 1 a.m., he was driving southbound on Greenwood Road. As Lacey approached the intersection with California Avenue, he saw a vehicle driven by Sorrells traveling northbound. Sorrells' vehicle slid through a stop sign at the intersection, then drove away. All of this for somebody who slid through a stop sign. This man put the village at risk for somebody who slid through a stop sign. Will Dalton respond to a FOIA request for the insurance company Dalton used for general liability in 2022? McGrath made them the scapegoat but didn't mention their name. And absolutely not. It took me 4 months to get the FOIA that I got. We just read in the complaint that they sent a FOIA for Perez's employee file, and they did not even put all of the information from his employee file in the FOIA. So absolutely not. They're gonna stall till they can't stall no more. Absolutely not. You can FOIA for it if you want to. We all gonna be filing FOIA cases. We all gonna be getting binding decisions for the Attorney General's office. We're gonna have to find some other way to get the name of that insurance company. So this man slid through a stop sign. He says that he had to make a U-turn to go around, to go and back and chase him. And by the time he turned around, the man was already 2 to 3 blocks away. For somebody who slid through a stop sign, you put the village through all of this for somebody who slid through a stop sign. Out of here. Out of here. That's crazy. And he was doing 70 to 75 trying to catch up with him. Okay. I cannot. Okay, now what we gonna do? We got all of our background information, right? We got that this happened during the Riley Rogers administration, October 9th, 2016. Official complaint and lawsuit was filed November the 5th, 2019. 2 years after. August 3rd of 2022, judgment was entered and was given to the plaintiffs by a jury in the amount of $33 million $33.5 million. It is now 2026. So let's talk about Tiffany before we look at this video. Let's talk about, hold on, let me see if it let me replace. Oh, no, because I want to play a video. Let me get this video up. Yep. Okay, got it up already. Ooh. Hold on. Because we want to talk about what Tiffany's responsibility was, right? They trying to blame this all on Tiffany. However, this is not her total baby to bear, right? I'm trying to move this window. Y'all give me a second. Stand, hold the line, please. Okay, there you go. So in 2022, the judgment came down. Tiffany was in her second year, going into her second year of office. And now this judgment comes down for $33.5 million. I'm going to point out a few things in this video. We're not going to go through the entire video. We're going to go to McGrath's presentation, but because there's a few things that he says in there, that I'm finna point out that I don't know if anybody caught, but we gonna catch it today. Okay. So Tiffany gets in her seat. She is now arguing, because we're in 2022 when this verdict comes down, when this judgment comes down. Okay. Something that she didn't do, that she didn't have nothing to do with and wasn't a part of. It originated when she was a trustee and not the mayor. And so she's sitting in the seat. This judgment comes down. She is in the middle of arguing with the trustees now. They have retained their own lawyer, which was Bert Olson, which was the village attorney after they got rid of Shawnee Rain Welks or whatever. When they got rid of her, then they hired Olson for the village attorney. When Tiffany got in office, she didn't want Olson. Now we know why she didn't want Olson, because all of this was going on and she knew that he was a part of it. And she knew that, I don't know. I don't know about him, but I don't want him. But the trustees wanted him for whatever reason. We ain't going to speculate yet on what reason they wanted him. I got a speculation, but we ain't going to do it yet. Okay? And so she have an attorney now who is Dale Galdo, and they have an attorney. Bert Olson was handling this case. He was the attorney of record, so he would have still been handling this case because of that. And he was still working for the village anyway. Now, where I fault Tiffany is she kept Louis Lacey and had a nerve to promote him to chief. Now, I believe that she did that. Now, we can confirm that she did that because he was not a good person. And he was somebody good to have around because he would follow orders and do whatever she told him to do, because he did not have any boundaries as it relates to being a police officer, because he had not been trained to be a police officer anyway. So he didn't even know the laws or the rules. Lord have mercy. All of that stuff we went to, clear the room. And this man was not even certified to be telling us to clear the room, Jesus, Lord. Okay, so I fault her for not getting rid of him when she came into office, because that's what she should have done. That's what she should have done. She should have gotten rid of him and Officer Perez once she got into office. She should have done that. And then with this lawsuit, she should have tried to find out why. Why did the insurance company not take the first settlement? Did she know any of these things though? Because she was so outraged at Bert Olson, she wasn't even speaking to him and he wasn't speaking to her and she wasn't paying him and he was mad about it. So did she even know these things that McGrath talked about last night? That would be the question for me, because then she would have had to make decisions based on what she knew. Get rid of Lacey, get rid of Perez. Think about this lawsuit in terms of payment. I mean, what do they do? How do they handle it? But because she was mad at Bert Alderson, she was not probably speaking to him, and she probably was not getting briefed. And this is not an excuse. I'm just telling you what could have happened. And she probably was not getting briefed on this court case because Alderson was handling it. So maybe the trustees were the only ones getting briefed. And even so, if they were, when they were having their separate meetings, why didn't they address it at their separate meetings? Because at one point they was having 2 meetings, child. Tiffany was having her meeting at the Village Hall, and they was having their meeting either at the Park District or outside. I think when it first started, they was having their meeting outside of the Village Hall because she was locking them out. So they had set up a table outside of Village Hall, and they was having meetings out there. So why didn't on their agenda they put to address this? The judgment came down in 2022. So everybody needs to take a little bit of accountability for what is going on right now. Because everybody had a responsibility to make sure that they were keeping an eye on this. That's a big amount, $33 million, and you already know that the village is in stress as far as money, because you're saying that Tiffany is cashing checks, she's spending, she's overspending. So everybody has a little bit of responsibility to me. So let's see what
allowing the courts to impose something like that on us. So that's a little bit of the background. I'm sure.
So they're worried. On Friday, there is a hearing. The family has asked and petitioned the court and the judge to issue a bond against the village. When I say bond against the village, it means that it's like a judgment. When you get a judgment issued against you, no, a garnishment. A bond is a garnishment for a village. It's like a garnishment. So when you get money, that money, your paycheck come, they take that garnishment amount right out. You don't never see it. And if you don't have no money after that garnishment come out, they don't care. They don't got nothing to do with it. The court said we can garnish your wages. That's what we're going to do. And this is the amount. So that's what this bond is. This bond is a garnishment for the village. It's going to tank their credit score. So just like a garnishment tanks your credit score, this is going to tank the village's credit score. It's going to impede their ability to be able to borrow money and then become bondable themselves, to be able to take out bonds or loans on behalf of the village. So the family has asked that a bond be set against the village, because this was issued in 2022. It is 2026, 4 years now from the judgment, and they still have not gotten one dime. And the man that is still alive needs 24/7 care. So they want their money. And when they issue this bond, it's going to become a line item. I don't know where they'll decide to take the money from. McGrath said that there was a bunch of different places. They could take it from the property taxes. It'll be a line item on the property tax. So just like you have the schools, the township, what else? Fire, police, you're going to see bond. That you're going to see judgment, bond, and then whatever that amount is going to be. In the village, the residents will have to pay. They will have to pay because during Riley Rogers' administration, the lawyers did not press the insurance company enough to say no. I don't know why they didn't go to court and say, Your Honor, we are filing an injunction against the insurance company because they are not listening. We want to settle this matter. The plaintiffs have agreed to settle, and the insurance company is refusing. When you say that out loud, it don't even make any sense. But that's what they should have done if that's what happened. I'm not even sure that's what happened. Like, this story sounded a little fishy to me. I don't know how it sounds to you, but it sounds a little fishy to me. So let's see this video. Hold on, I'm going to fast forward it to this presentation.
Standing settlements that the village has not yet paid. I didn't get yours.
Okay, y'all let me know that y'all can hear this video. Because y'all know last time we was having issues. I don't know who made this PowerPoint, but they got a whole bunch of windows open. Why would you be showing your email like that? Child. Y'all let me know if y'all can hear the video.
You changed the whole order? Here, okay.
This was a whole thing.
Okay.
Okay, let's pause it right here. This first slide says from January 2024 to present, the village paid in full approximately 25 settlements, totaling nearly $1.9 million. Here's my first question. You have a $33.5 million judgment that you have not paid anything on. The judgment came down in 2022. Yet you're standing here in front of the residents telling the residents that you have settled cases from January 2024 to present at $1.9 million, but you've not paid this family anything. And you think you're going to walk in court on Friday and throw yourself on the mercy of the court, have the residents spam the Zoom, and the lawyers for the plaintiffs are going to stand up and tell the judge they have paid out $1.9 million since 2024 to other settlements when my client has been waiting since 2022. Let me know what you think about that. Let me know how you think the judge gonna feel about that. I'm gonna wait for some responses. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about this, because this first slide, when I saw this right here, I said, what? You paid out $1.9 million to, it says 25 settlements at $1.9 million from 2024. So 25 people, I don't know how many people that involved, but we'll just say 25 since it's 25 settlements. You paid $1.9 million, but you have a settlement for $33.5 $5 million that has been a judgment sent down since 2022, and you didn't give them you gave them zero good faith money. You had $1.9 million to spread out, which you did over 25 settlements, and you didn't pay the main one. You didn't give them nothing. $50,000. You say, oh my God, okay, we got about $200,000 of this money. Can we put down a deposit? Can we give a good faith deposit, and then you're gonna have to spread out and owe the other people the rest? Y'all let me know what y'all thought about this when he put this on the screen. Do you think that they should have given some good faith money to this judgment of $33.5 million that came down in 2022? These settlements were paid by the village, SIR, and village insurance. As a result, the village has had difficulty obtaining favorable insurance company. Y'all tell me something, because I ain't seeing nobody responding. What do you think? I need to put it on all messages so I can see. Maybe I'm missing some messages. Okay. What do you think about this first slide? I need to know. Let's get this conversation going, because this first slide took me out. You paid 25 people, but you didn't pay the main one. You didn't try to make no arrangements with them. You didn't think they was going to hear through the streets, through the grapevine, nothing, that 25 people got some money from the village of Dalton and they still haven't gotten anything. Yet they have been given something by a jury of their peers. We talk about 2024, 2 years ago, their judgment is already 2 years old at this point. Somebody in the comments, don't nobody want to come? Somebody let me know. I'm trying to find out. How you feeling if you was the person that the village owed? Your judgment came down in 2022. They start paying people in 2024 and you don't get anything, but you hear through the streets that some people got paid. When I saw that, I calculated an average of $76,000 for these 25 payments. Most lawyers could do that. Who can deal with the huge bankrupting settlements? But Paul, here's my question. See, now we got a conversation going. Now we got a conversation going, Paul. Here's my question. The family was willing to take the $8 million at the beginning. That was the beginning negotiation after they won the case. Boom. Negotiations about how much money. Okay, I understand that. I understand what you're saying, Paul, about it's easier to pay off the small debtors first. Okay, cool. However, should you say, maybe we should give this family some attention. Maybe we should give them something. This man is in a wheelchair, for God's sake. He needs 24-hour care. We don't know what type of bills or whatever they're incurring or what they might need. They might have needed to purchase a vehicle to transport this man back and forth to his doctor's appointments. I mean, you literally have no care about that. Even if these were small debts, you give them a small piece too to make them feel like, hey, we are sorry. Hey, I promise we coming. But if I'm looking at $1.9 million on the screen, you paid 25 people. I don't give a damn if you gave them $76,000 a piece. That ain't my problem. Where's my mother $76,000? Because my loved one is over here in need of things. Taxes are getting higher in Illinois. food costs is going crazy. And now I have a family member that needs 24-hour care. I understand what you're saying, Paul. It do make sense. Okay, I must pay off these little small bills first. Yeah, but that light bill at $800. In a minute, they're going to cut it off because they're going to want some money. What you going to give them? Should you call them and make a payment arrangement so that your lights don't get cut off? I mean, one of those payments of $76,000 could have been sent to the family as a good faith. One person would have had been left off, but I'm going to tell you right now, they would have been one of the 25. Because then I might not be here today because the family might feel like, okay, this village is in some sort of money crisis. They're going to sent us a $76,000 check that got to be split between the two of us, but we're going to try to make it work because they say they're going to get us another payment. Now you looking at no compassion and no mercy. Now you looking at the family on Friday, going to ask this judge, and they coming to that courthouse. Let me tell you how they coming. Lovey and Lovey. Do you see what they put on that in that complaint? Do you see they put on their website? They is coming with a hammer that says no mercy. They do not care because nobody have called to check on them and ask them, are they okay? Is their loved one okay? How is their family doing? Ain't nobody cared since 2022 to do that. So now they coming with a hammer that say no mercy in the form of a bond. I agree that the trustees and their attorneys should have pressured their insurance company to settle. The alternative, bankrupting Dalton, does not concern the insurance. That part, Paul. That part. Because at the end of it, you're paying the insurance premium. So the insurance company work for you. So why would they not do what you told them to do? Because I would be like, no, you settle this for $8 million or we'll cancel our policy. You're not going to get another dime from the village. They don't like to lose customers now. When you start talking about money, they don't want to be losing no customers, whether they got to pay people or not. Because they're going to get you back. How they going to get you back? They're going to raise that premium. They're going to make you pay $1 million a month for insurance. They could have used that money that they bought that stupid Pope's house with to pay them. Huh? Okay, huh? $375,000 would have been a good faith payment. Where did the $375,000 come from? Where did this $1.9 million come from to pay these 25 settlements? Do we know where that came from? Because didn't Tammy Brown say the bag is empty? Ain't that what she said at one of the meetings? She said the bag is empty. So where did they get $1.9 million all of a sudden? Where did they get $375,000 all of a sudden? Now, these are just questions. You'll have a lot of people out there saying, oh, she need to shut up. She don't know anything. And neither do you, apparently. Because you can't tell me where this $1.9 million, I find it funny that everybody out here talking about shut up and be quiet can't give you no answers about where these monies is coming from. I find that very interesting. But anyway, let's continue.
Yeah, that's the one. Thank you.
Now, this next side says litigation. Currently, there are approximately 40 pending litigation cases in which the village is involved. Now, I'm confused because the last time McGrath reported, he said that the number had gone down to 38. So where did we gain 2 more cases? Should the public be getting a list of cases that's in litigation? I feel like that should be a part of the agenda for some reason. Because McGrath be saying, "Oh, we're working through all of the cases, and we are, slowly settling them, and we actually have brought the number of cases down." Who remember him saying that? And he said, "And we're down to 38 cases now." I'm gonna find that meeting. I'm gonna make a short because he said it. Do anybody remember that? It's kind of sad that they bought that Pope house, but could give that family any money. It's several things in this video that he said that I got questions about and that I find questionable. Okay. We're gonna talk about it. But where do we gain 2 more cases? The last he gave update on the number of cases, he said that they were working through the cases. The number of cases had gone down. They actually only had 38 cases. And they started out with a lot. But now we back up to 40. Where did the other 2 cases come from? Who are they? What are they? I feel like that the residents should be able to get a list of the cases. I went to a village meeting tonight, and when they got down to a certain part of the agenda, the lawyer was up there, and everything that the lawyer handled, he had to tell the residents about. He only had one item today, and it was about buying equipment from the village of New Lenox. But he uses his time to walk through every case or everything that he is handling as the village attorney. I thought that was awesome. And you was able to ask him any questions you wanted after the meeting about something that was on the agenda or about something that was on the previous agenda. He didn't care. I wonder if some of these cases are people suing due to FOIA violations. Well, we do know that John Kraft sued them for a FOIA violation and got paid. I believe it was $30,000. Now, Ryan got $0. So I'm confused as to how they got $30,000 and Ryan sued the village of Harvey for the same thing. And the only thing he got was lawyer fees. He got $0, but the lawyer got paid. These be some interesting negotiations that be happening. I wonder if Dalton can hire that lawyer. I don't know. Sounds like what happens in a South Holland meeting. Regardless, every meeting, every other village meeting that I've went to, the lawyer has a spot. So they have like the mayor report, they have all the mayor reports, the administrative reports, and then they got the lawyer reports. And on this particular agenda, he had listed his items. On another one agenda that I had got, he had a whole bunch of stuff and he had it all listed there, the cases with the case numbers, and then he went down each case, told them what each case was about, and told them what was happening, because they had already talked about it in executive session. He came out and he told them what was happening. This is we already talked about this, but this is what the outcome was, and this is what we had to do. Okay. The dysfunction continue. We love living in some dysfunction, but I don't understand, because not this administration. Not this administration. You lying, while I'm a guy. But anywho, then it says over the last 12 to 18 months, the village has resolved approximately 40 cases. So you had 80 cases. Am I reading? Y'all help me read this slide, because I'm nervous. It says currently there are approximately 40 pending. Okay, so now so over the 12, 18 months, you've cleared 40. So you must have started out with 80. Maybe it was something like 84 or 85 cases. They've cleared 40 cases. Okay, there are approximately 7 outstanding settlements that the village has not yet paid, or is still in the process of paying, totaling under $3 million. Still do not include This is 7 settlements that still don't include the $33.5 million, which is now $41 million because of the interest. So that number should actually be $44 million, and it should be 8 outstanding settlements. Do you see this? They should be giving the whole entire picture. You are forgetting that one case again. You forgetting that one case again. Our court cases, public access. Yeah, some of them are sure. When I go down to the Markham courthouse, you can go down and get the ones that have been filed in Cook County. If it's a federal case that's been heard at the Daily Center, you either have to go down to the Daily Center or you have to have access to Pacer, which I have access to Pacer, but it costs money to view and even print them things off. And I forgot how much it costs a page. But anyway, sometimes I do it. But yeah, you can literally get access to all of these cases. But why are they leaving that big settlement out of what they're telling the residents they still have to tackle? You should put that in the report. There are 8 outstanding settlements that total $44 million. Period. Am I wrong? Somebody tell me, am I wrong? They have left off that case again. How are you to do something about this if you don't put it up there as an action item? It has to start being part of the information.
Okay, back on track here. As far as the litigation, again, my office, we were dumped with about a little over 80 litigation files, which took a lot of effort to get caught up to speed to see what needed to be done, what was done on those files, discovery. We assessed those files to see what cases could be resolved, settled, motions to dismiss. And as the mayor stated, within the last 12, 18 months, we got rid of 40 cases, which is significant because with each case, there's a lot of attorney's fees that go into any case with court appearances, telephone calls, depositions, everything that goes into defending the village. There are approximately 7 outstanding settlements that the village has not yet paid or is in the process of paying.
See, I cannot trust you when you do not tell the truth. There are 8 settlements and they total $44 million. Did you just sit there and say that when you got this big case with this? I don't know. I find that problematic. And that's me. Let me know in the comments if you find that problematic as well.
Those settlements total $3 million. Those settlements have been approved here at public meetings. They've been on agendas and have been discussed. Next slide, please. That's one. From January 2024 to the present, the village has paid in full approximately 25 settlements, totaling nearly $1.9 million. So that's a good thing. And what it shows is that the village understands it has obligations and it's paying its obligations. Those settlements, however, are paid not only by the village, but by the village's insurance coverage. So the village has what's called an SIR. You can consider that to be like the deductible. It's a retention amount. So the village is responsible up to the retention amount. After that, the coverage comes from the insurance carrier and they pay the difference, just like if you're in an auto accident. So that is good that those have been paid, but as a result of that size of judgments and the number of cases, the village has had difficulty in obtaining favorable insurance going forward. They look at those loss run reports, what the village has paid out, the number of cases. So the village currently does not have very good insurance. The deductible is much higher now. The coverage is lower. And the only way to get better coverage next year, the year after, 5 years from now, is to get rid of these cases and to get on the right track and not have litigation. I've mentioned it before, and I think we should all knock on wood. Under this administration, unlike the prior administration, there hasn't been a single lawsuit filed. So
Now here we go. Now here we go. Here we go. Did you hear him say that unlike the prior administration, what prior administration you talking about? Because the reason you probably got into insurance coverage trouble was because of this judgment in this $33.5 million case that actually came from Riley Rogers and not from Tiffany Hingyard. So you were already in trouble with insurance for the village when that judgment came about. But that was not Tiffany's case. That case came about from Riley Rogers. When you all did not force the insurance company to pay the settlement, that is probably what caused you to be in trouble with getting insurance for the village. See, now it's coming full circle, right? Because we thought these cases were from Tiffany. They actually were not. Now, did she call some of these cases? Yeah. But I have another question. We read about Lewis Lacy earlier. He was a sergeant under the Riley Rogers administration under Chief Collins, and he had 6 accidents in a police vehicle while on duty. Could that affect the insurance for the village as well? When you have someone that is public safety, under public safety, causing accidents, and you still keep them employed? So my question is, was Tiffany the real reason that they couldn't be insured? I mean, I'm asking a question now. Because now we know all of these things, these other things that we didn't know before. Or maybe we knew them and we was told that that wasn't important. Don't pay attention to that. Because if I got a public safety officer who is a police officer and he's getting into 1 accident a month, now we got 6 accidents with people who have injuries who they could have sued the village and then they settled with them. The insurance had to pay them. The vehicle was wrecked. They had to get the vehicle fixed. The insurance paid out on the vehicles. All of that stuff affects your insurance. Somebody tell me if I'm wrong. I mean, it's okay to speak. We got to get this conversation going. We need to be asking these questions. Could that have had some? That would have been under Riley, again, that would have been under the Riley Rogers administration because that's where Lewis Lacy started. Remember, the back door was opened in that administration. Tiffany just inherited him and her bad judgment was keeping him. So I'm trying to find out, could there be one of the, then you have another police officer who had racked up 4 cases of his own and a death. And then it was another death. So he had 3. And then here come Alexis Wilson. So were they not insurable because of Tiffany? Or were they not insurable because of things that she inherited?
that is commendable to Mayor House and his board. So what that shows is that they're making proper employment decisions, labor decisions. There's no litigation with the bargaining.
I'm going to check if Jason has had any litigation filed since he been in office, because I'm going to check that, because this number went from 38 to 40. What are these 2 other cases?
Units, nothing's been filed. So that may change, but as of right now, we're approaching 12 months. And that goes a long way for prior or subsequent insurance, your overall loss run rates, and just the stability of the village. So that is good. Next slide, please. As I stated, and as you know, there's a lot of the litigation that we've been dealing with and that has been dealt with involved members of the prior administration. Unfortunately, because it involved members of the prior administration, a lot of those cases didn't even have insurance coverage. I think we've mentioned before that some of the elected officials from the prior administration, namely the former mayor, were written out of the village's insurance policy. The insurance companies would not even insure any action by the former.
Now, the reason I believe, let me see, Candia says, I would say both are true. Tiff brought a spotlight to what was happening because of her flashiness. True indeed. Now, he said that Tiffany was not insurable was because of her. And again, I'm going to ask the question, was it really because of her? Or was it because she was the mayor now and all of these things were happening once she took the seat? The $33.5 million judgment. Lacey, if his cases were still being litigated from Riley Rogers' administration, then that would be on her seat again. Now you've got the Alexis Wilson, which she attributed to that one. So because she didn't get rid of Louis Lacey and Officer Perez when she got in office like she should have. And so you had that. And then I think there was a Camilla Williams. I think that was an unlawful arrest case that got settled. Then you had all of the wrongful termination cases that were under her. So, yeah, it's probably a bit of both that she couldn't be insured because of all of these cases from the previous administration to her, and then the stuff that happened under her administration.
Former mayor based upon the actions of the former mayor. So that doesn't stop the lawsuits. The lawsuits still kept coming. We had to defend them. And now we're in the difficult position, and have been in the difficult position of defending some of those lawsuits with the prior elected officials who, when asked to appear at depositions or give answers to written discovery, invoke the Fifth Amendment because there's an ongoing federal investigation, and that's their right. But that really hampers and makes it more difficult to defend a lot of those cases when the people that were responsible for most of the actions don't give any answers when they're called upon. Next slide, please. There was a matter of defaulted payments with AT&T.
These defaulted payments actually didn't happen under Tiffany either. They happened under Riley Rogers. You have to go back and look it up. This happened under Riley Rogers. If you go back and look at some of those older meetings under Riley Rogers, there was a man, the man that was over the water department. He actually sat there in a meeting and told them that if they didn't get the right amount that they were supposed to be charging the residents, that they were going to be in trouble with paying the water bill to the city of Chicago. He told them that they were going to be in trouble if they did not raise the water rates. He told Riley Rogers this in a meeting. I watched it.
There was a large indebted bill to AT&T, close to $300,000. That is being paid down. The village has been behind in those payments, but they're making up those payments over the next 2 years. Next slide, please.
I also have a question. Do any of you remember that the lawyers in several meetings, once Jason had taken over, and even before when Jason was mayor pro temp and Tiffany stopped coming to meetings, he talked about some easements that they were selling and payments that were supposed to be being made to the village by AT&T for the usage of these easements that they sold them. So what happened to that? Where is this amount of they owe $280,000 to AT&T if they was out here selling easements to AT&T and they say that AT&T owes them money? Should the two things not cancel each other out? And I could be wrong, but I'm going to find this in a video because I know I heard it in a video that Bert Alderson said this, that they sold these easements to these different places, ComEd, AT&T, you know, all of these places, and they were going to have to be paying the village rent. So you mean to tell me you could not get them to forego this $280,000 whatever you owed them? Now you done sold them the easement, they owe you money? I mean, y'all couldn't negotiate that? I'm so confused about this. I'm finna go back in these agendas again because I remember that. This right here, a steel trap, boy. I remember these things. I'm finna go back and find it because he said that this was a way for the village to make money and they would then in turn have to pay them. So you couldn't say, okay, $280,000 works out to carry the one, 12 payments. So you don't have to pay us 12 payments and that'll take care of the $280,000. So you'll just have to resume paying us in 2027. Okay, y'all not going to talk to me today. That's okay. I just want to know, and I know that I heard them talk about these easements that they were selling.
Going back to 2018, the village was sued by the city of Chicago for unpaid water bills in the amount of.
Did he say going back to 2017? That also would not be Little Stank. That would be ding, 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 ding. That would be Riley Rogers. That would be Riley Rogers. So this was not Tiffany's bill either. This was not a situation that she created. And I told you that that man that used to be over the water department told Riley Rogers that if they did not do a water rate increase, that they were going to get behind on these payments and it would be the point of no return once they did. They would have a hard time digging themselves out. We listening to all the good for you. I'm just asking questions. I'm trying to ask questions. My mind works different from other people. So I'm trying to reconcile this in my brain. Cause an alarm goes off in my brain and it's like, yeah, that don't make no sense. Yeah, nah. That doesn't make any sense, Christmas. What make it make sense? Cause my brain's starting to hurt. So this right here, these defaulted payments to the city of Chicago, he said 2017, that was Riley Rogers, that was not Tiffany. So this $9 million then belongs to her.
$9 million. There was a consent decree entered with the city of Chicago to make up on those payments. The village has historically received default notices from the city of Chicago and is currently 5 months behind on those payments. Next slide, please. Repossession.
Okay, let me see, because I see questions. The question is, how do you hold Riley truly responsible? Well, there's no way to hold him responsible now, but you should not be attributing things to Tiffany that should be attributed to the time when he was in office. It's nothing you can do about it now. It's literally water under the proverbial bridge. But stop trying to make her look more of a villain by saying she did it, because everybody don't like her. Well, I ain't gonna say everybody don't like her, but because people are upset with her. And that's a good scapegoat goat to use so that people don't look at you and ask you, well, what are we gonna do? Well, I don't know, because I ain't make this mess. That's what I feel like they trying to do. So that the residents don't ask them what they gonna do. They gonna pat Jason and them on the back and say, yeah, we know she messed everything up, and never ask them, okay, well, what the hell you gonna do about it though? You wanted the seat, you sitting in it now. What the hell kind of plan do you have to take care of this? What are we gonna do? But instead, you literally have people patting them on the back saying, we went through a hard time. Yes, you did. You did. You went through a hard time. Now it's over. Now we got to get to work. What are we going to do? Pity party time is over. You can't hold Riley Rogers accountable because y'all didn't do shit while he was in office when he was doing it. So then when Lil Stink came, now y'all fighting instead of working together, trying to figure out what you're going to do about all of this shit. You thought it was better to fight because you didn't get what you want. This person didn't get what they want. Y'all had an agreement. The agreement was ruined because Lil Stink said, no, I don't want to work with y'all no more. I get my own crew. I'm going to have the Gang Green crew. Y'all not part of the Gang Green crew. Get your own crew. And the only people suffering behind it is the residents. Don't they pay $1 million a year to the water bill in the settlement for $8 million? Original water bill was $20 million, I think. Well, he glossed over that, but he said they was paying it. There was a debt of whatever the amount was, but there was a payment arrangement being set, and I guess they are paying it. Now we up here talking about repossession of vehicles. Between September and December of 2022, former Mayor Henyard entered into 3 purchase lease agreements with Government Lease Co. on behalf of the village. Now, if you're not in my private community, we are reading the deposition of John Kasperick. In that deposition, if you in my private community, we having a time with this deposition, ain't we? We've been tussling with this deposition because we have been learning so much. Okay? This man literally told us why she did this lease agreement. Literally told us. We didn't ask for it. McGrath didn't ask for it either. He was actually asking another question, and that's the answer he got. If you want to know what she was told or advised to do, you should join the private community. Look at the last Cash Whisperer video. It was revealed in there. My question is, let me see. My question is, how do you stop the bleeding and stop all these bandages? Literally, they need to come together and figure out a way out. If there's one. If there is even a way out. You gotta see if there's a way out. And if there's not a way out, you need to be transparent with the residents and say, our best option might be to be dissolved with in between Calumet City, South Holland, Harvey, or Markham, or Riverdale, or one of those betwixt and between all of those places. I keep coming back to the 528 checks found in the drawer made out to vendors not sent, but there were $4 million in debt. Stank was doing something with the money. Listen, sure, I'm gonna tell you again, you're not a part of my private community. We are reading the deposition from John Kasperick, who is the CPA firm. He literally told us how checks might end up on a desk and not paid. He literally told us. Raise your hand if you in my private community and you know, and we are thoroughly thoroughly engaged and astounded by the answers that we heard. How do we get in the private community? Condia, you're green. You're already in there. All you got to do is click on the video. Go to the membership tab on the YouTube channel. I'll show you before we get off of here. Go to the membership tab and you go right there and look through all the videos. You literally going to click on the last video that I made in the members only, and it's in there. It's that one. You're green. If you're green, you're a member of this channel. So then it says the total lease price for these 3 vehicles combined was $374,325. Ultimately, several of these vehicles were repossessed and or returned to the bank with unpaid balances. Now, I have several questions about these so-called repossessions, because literally one night, that I went to a Dalton meeting. This was the meeting that the police chief got sworn in. Girl, I was making sure there wasn't a more private community. Oh no, you good. The police chief got into a Tahoe. One that looked exactly. Actually, there was two. The 2 Tahoes were parked outside. Staples was driving one, and Commander Riley was driving one, and they were the exact same Tahoes that were in question. And that was when the police chief got sworn in. So did they turn them back in? Did they turn them back in? Were they repossessed? Why can't we see the self-repossession papers and the counseling from the government lease code company? Can the residents see the purchase lease agreements that was defaulted on from the government lease company? And why isn't government lease company litigating them for self-repossession and leaving a balance on these accounts? Because when you get a car repossessed, they still take you to court for the rest of that money, don't they? Somebody tell me if I'm wrong, because listen, I have not had a car repossessed in years. Okay, I was in my 20s. Let me know how that worked. Let me know if you self-repossess, even if you self-repossess, they're going to take you to court for the rest of their money. I tell you, when I was in my 20s, I had a car repossessed. I was a single mom. I had a car repossessed. And they started garnishing my check for that car. Until that car got paid off, my check was getting garnished. So I'm confused as to why is that not another litigation? Because shouldn't they be filing for the rest of their money? Because there was an agreement signed. I don't know. I'm gonna let y'all sit with that. Somebody tell me in the comments.
Of village vehicles between September and December of 2022. As you're all familiar, former Mayor Haynard entered into various lease purchase agreements for government vehicles on behalf of the village. The total lease price for those vehicles combined was just under $400,000. Ultimately, those vehicles were repossessed and are returned to the bank, and there remains unpaid balances for those vehicles. There's also, next slide. Thank you. There have also been issues with life insurance for the village employees. The village has been delinquent for payment of life insurance premiums for the village employees.
Okay, this is another thing I got a question about. When did this start? When did the delinquency start? It says in June of 2024, the village became delinquent on its insurance premium. So just in June of 2024 that this happened? So June of 2024. I'm running down in my mind. June of 2024, they were running. They had declared for their candidacy for the election in 2025. So just in June of 2024, they became delinquent. Okay.
Going back to June of 2024, obviously, this adversely affects the insurance benefits and payroll of the village employees. And those are the people that are working for you, the taxpayers. And certainly we don't want that to impact the village employees, and they should not be put in that position. The village has worked to get caught up on the unpaid life insurance policies. Next slide. Unpaid property tax bills. The village of Dalton owns certain properties throughout the village. These properties should be tax exempt, meaning that the village should not have to pay any property taxes to the county. However, the prior administration failed to file the paperwork with Cook County.
Okay. So I got a question, because on this, especially the property tax bills, okay? Because when did the village fail to file this paperwork, and what paperwork would they have to file? And who would be in charge of that? Because Dorothy Brown, who had been the Cook County clerk for years, was the first village administrator. She was the first village administrator until Keith Freeman took over, and Keith Freeman didn't take over until 2022, maybe 2023. Dorothy Brown was the village administrator, the interim village administrator, I think until 2023. As the village administrator and the former clerk of Cook County, you mean to tell me when did this paperwork not get filed? Because normally, like he said, if the villages hold properties, those properties are tax exempt. So you mean to tell me you cannot retroactively file the paperwork and it be wiped away? I think that's how I go. I think that might be something that, let me know, because if I can file exemptions, if I can turn in paperwork to file exemptions, because they send me that bill sometimes before my exemptions are on there. And then I go file my exemptions, and then they send me out an adjusted bill. I have to question everything that is said now. And why couldn't they go back and file the paperwork?
As a result, the village owes approximately $100,000 to Cook County for unpaid property taxes with penalties. Now, there's mechanisms to clear that up.
And I got a question. So they owe $100,000. He said there's mechanisms to clear that up. So you owe $100,000 to Cook County, and instead of paying them the $100,000, you buy the Pope's house for 3 times that amount.
And I can tell you that the current administration, we're working with the county to clear that up. So that should be written off. But again, that involves time.
Again, you telling the residents about some debt that's going to be written off. I told you. I said, can't they retroactively file the paper? Yeah, because they're a government entity. No, I can't deal with this.
Effort, attorney fees, filings. And I can tell you that it's very simple. It's a basic process to get properties to be declared tax.
And if the process is simple and very easy, why haven't they just sent the email and told the village administrator how to do it, or the chief of staff how to do it? Shouldn't that be a part of their duties? Doing paperwork? So why didn't they just send one of them an email and say, you need to go do this for the village. You need to go file this. This is how you do it. This is the only thing you need to do. This is what you need to do. Why haven't they done that? But instead, they have sent the invoice to the village for doing something that he says is so simple that anybody could do it. So to save money, why they not having the village administrator or the chief of staff do it? Or the person who is head of human resources, if they have one. Why is this task not being given to someone else if it's easy thing to do and anybody can do it?
Exempt. We just should not be in this situation. So it's got to be done. It will be done. Just wanted to draw that to everyone's attention. Next slide, please. State appropriations. Back in 2023, the village was slated to receive an appropriation in the amount of $5 million for the appropriation and the numbers listed on the slide. The village never received this appropriation, meaning the village never received any of that $5 million or other resources, grants, and appropriations, again, because the
Now, I believe that this is the $5 million that Thaddeus and Napoleon stopped from coming to the village of Dalton because they said that Little Stank was overspending and spending from accounts that she shouldn't be spending from and writing checks and all of those things. So that's where I think that this was stopped. You can FOI, but they don't give you enough information. They give you numbers, but they don't tell you what bucket this $5 million is coming from. When I say what bucket, what department of the government is this coming from? Because we could use these appropriation numbers right here to send to that department and FOI for what this $5 million was supposed to be used for. But you literally don't have, I mean, you could have just put, we were supposed to receive $5 million from the such and such department. These are the appropriation numbers so that you could FOI and see what it was for.
prior administration failed to submit paperwork, send in an email, contact their state reps, people down in Springfield. And again, the residents are the ones that are hurt because that $5 million obviously could have gone to public improvements to your.
Could it have? We don't know. What was the $5 million for, McGrath? What department was it coming for? How do you know that it could have been used for those things? What was it for? What was it being appropriated for? Because when they appropriate money from Springfield, it is for a specific area or a specific thing. I mean, they just making a list of things trying to make Tiffany look bad to me. This is what she didn't do this. Well, we didn't receive this because of this. No, did you? Or did, because I do remember Napoleon and Thaddeus stopping money coming from Dalton because they said that she was misspending the money.
Streets, sidewalks, hiring additional policemen and firemen, the day-to-day operations of the village. Once that appropriation was not, grabbed by the village back in 2023, it was reappropriated throughout the state. So that money was lost. We've reached out to the state representatives to see if there's a way of getting that type of money back. It's in the work, but we all know the current situation of the state of Illinois, who doesn't have a lot of money either. The next slide. The American Rescue Plan Act, also referred to as ARPA. This is federal funds following COVID that was given to all the municipalities to offset what took place during COVID, and there was monies issued and they were earmarked for different public purposes. As you can see, the dollar amount that went to the village of Dalton under ARPA was.
Now, I believe that this was Tiffany's biggest misstep when she misused this money. And right now, because Tanjanique Miller was finance director, with ARPA funds, you have to log in to a federal system and you are supposed to be documenting every dollar that is used. You have to put the information into a system. from Tangenique's deposition, she never logged in, or well, that wasn't from Tangenique's deposition. That was from Lori Lightfoot's report. She never logged in to the system and recorded where any of this money went. So my thing is, if Tiffany is guilty of misappropriating this money, this is a federal offense. It is a fraud. I mean, you stolen money from the government. Shouldn't she be in jail? Shouldn't you be pursuing criminal charges for her misappropriating or misusing ARPA funds? These are federal dollars.
Just over $3 million. Next slide, please. As of the end of fiscal year 2024, the village had transferred $1.3 million of ARPA funds to the general fund to pay for expenditures categorized under due from American Rescue Plan. As of January 2025, the village had approximately $1.7 million of ARPA funds remaining in their capital projects account. And that money.
Now, I have a question, because when you transfer money, this is something that has to be voted on by the board. So did the board vote to transfer this money to the general fund to pay for operations, payroll and those sort of things? You have to vote to move money around. So did they vote for it? My question is, were they voting to sabotage Tiffany? Because they had the power on the board. They could have voted no to a whole bunch of stuff. But did they vote yes to this? What happened here?
Is still there. However, in reviewing the financial documents, it was learned that during the Haynard administration, the village used $500,000 of ARPA funds for improper and unrelated ARPA expenses.
Okay, so $500,000 was misappropriated by Tiffany. We need to see how it was misappropriated. Where did it go to? Can't she be charged with that offense? With misappropriating $500,000 of federally mandated American Rescue Plan money? So why isn't she locked up?
I don't have to go through all of those, but you may recall a lot of those expenses went towards new roofs, new doors, new windows,
Okay, new roofs, new doors, new windows on the residents' homes. This is American Rescue monies that was supposed to be used for. So did she misappropriate the funds? Is that within the scope of using the funds? We don't know, because we don't have the rules. So this money came, and there should have been a paper that came with it and said, you can use this money for these things and these things only. Bop, 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 bop. And if you use it for anything other than that, then you could be prosecuted under this law. Bop, 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 bop. So tell me, if you're saying that $500,000 was used inappropriately, why is she not locked up? Because that's federal funds. They come with directions. They come with mandates. Somebody tell me if I'm wrong or I'm crazy, because I could be crazy. We are right now seeing people in Congress go to jail for misappropriating them PPP loans, which was federal bailout money. We are seeing people go to jail right now for it in real time. So why is Tiffany not in jail if she did this, what you're saying she did with this $500,000 of ARPA federally mandated funds? Y'all get in these comments and tell me. Y'all quiet. I need to know. Are you asking what I'm asking? Did she do this? The FBI have raided Dalton's City Hall twice for documents. Did she do it? Because you're acting or speaking like you have proof that she did. Why is she not locked up then? Is that a fair question to ask? We are seeing, I'm going to say it again. We are seeing people in Congress, political figures right now being arrested for misappropriating PPP loan funds and other federally mandated funds. Somebody had a whole health care scheme where they misappropriated monies for health care, money coming from the government. They arrested them, put them on trial, and they arrested them and found them guilty. So tell me, if you are saying she did this, why is she not in jail?
Selected individuals, and it was done, shortly before election season. So leave it at that.
So she took the federally mandated $500,000 that was appropriated for the residents, and she gave them some roofs and some windows. Was that something that was allowed under these ARPA dollars? We don't know. We need to know. But if it wasn't, why is she not in jail with the rest of them folks that they are now locking up, prosecuting? Them folks is pleading guilty left and right.
Next slide, please. The village has been dropped by the third-party administrators not once, but twice in the last couple of years. Per the village insurance policies, the village is required to retain a third-party administrator. A third-party administrator is responsible for handling the workers' comp claims and serves as the...
Now, could this be due to those 7 workman comp cases that Louis Lacy filed against the village when he was wrecking cars and Riley Rogers wasn't stopping him? I know that got to be a part of it.
Liaison between the village and defense counsel on all the litigation matters that the village is currently facing. The TPA is also responsible for making payments on claims and settlements. They're kind of the pass-through. So when there's settlements approved by the board, or there's litigation matters that go to verdict and have to be paid, that money gets transferred to the third-party administrator from the village. Then it's paid by the third-party administrator, and then the third-party administrator, who is hired by the village, prepares reports and works with your insurance broker annually to look and shop for insurance policies for the future years. So it's an administrative position outside of the village, but what's important, it's required under all of your insurance policies. When you don't have a third-party administrator, it gives cause for the insurance carriers to cancel your insurance policies on current and future claims. So it's really something that you just never want to happen. The third-party administrators that have quit over the last few years quit because they weren't getting the funds from the village to pay for the settlements, to pay for the workers' comp claims, to pay for the administrative costs that they're responsible for doing. The village now is in the process, and I believe they've just retained their third-party administrator within the last few years.
Y'all, I'm finna start me a business as a third-party administrator because I feel like it's some money in it. We need to start as a company.
Next slide, please. Mismanagement of funds and unauthorized overspending of taxpayers' money.
Now, if you're not in our private community, John Kasperick told us about this overspending. McGrath actually asked him what happens if somebody overspends a line item. And Kasprick said, nothing happens. Nothing happens. The line item is just overspent. Am I wrong? Is that what he said? That's what we read in black and white. And then he says nothing. He said nothing happens. That line item is just overspent. You can make it up in other areas. You can do other things. Tell me if I'm wrong. You in that private community and we read that.
This was just in the news within the last 2 weeks. The village filed a lawsuit against the village's former bank, Fifth Third Bank, alleging that former Mayor Haynard misappropriated funds from the village by signing checks without any co-signer.
Now, she cannot misappropriate funds from the bank if the trustees voted to pay the bills. If they voted to pay the vendors, and the vendors that they paid got paid, had a check from her with just one signature on it, you're not saying that you don't owe the vendors. So I don't understand the argument here. You're not saying that you don't owe the vendors for the work that they did. What you're saying is because the check had one signature on it, which is a technicality, that the bank shouldn't have paid it. Again, you're not saying that the people was not owed their money. You're saying you're suing them because the check had one signature on it and it should have had two, according to you. And it's 251 checks. In our private community, we are going to be looking back through the agendas because there's dates of the checks that they're talking about and see if the trustees removed that amount from the warrant list. If we can match the date with the amount that they removed because they said they didn't want to pay it, then she paid some vendors that they said don't pay. That's one issue. It ain't something she can go to jail for, though. She the mayor. If she signed the check and they provided a service to the village and you agree that they provided the service, then they're owed payment. So we need to see if they did that.
Which is required under village ordinance and code and state law. The co-signer.
And I told y'all my private community banks are not obligated to follow any resolution, any ordinance. They follow a bank contract. They follow the contract of the bank. If you want something to change as far as signatures on an account or to add someone to account, what do you have to do? You have to physically go into the bank and do it. You can't send them an email and be like, hey, I think I want to add my husband to my account. Can you add my husband to my account? His name is such and such and so-and-so. Yeah, no, they're not just going to add your husband because you sent an email and say that. Because you sent an email and said that we passed an ordinance or a resolution and this is it. They're not obligated to follow that. You have to come into the bank, physically come into the bank. They have to verify IDs. They have to get signatures. If that was not done, what the bank supposed to do?
Should have been the village clerk by signing the check on her own and without having a co-signer. That clearly violated the village policy, ordinances, and commercial banking standards. During the time period that's the allegation.
Again, we're talking about unethical versus illegal. What she may have done was unethical because she knew that there was an ordinance in place. But she is the mayor of the village. Was it illegal? She's the mayor. They can't lie and say, oh, no, she not the mayor. No, she the mayor. And her name was on the account. Unethical, illegal. You got to know what side of the line to be on. And somebody taught her well. Somebody taught her very well. You want to be on the unethical side, not the illegal side.
In this complaint state that Henyard unjustifiably signed and cashed over 251 checks totaling over $1.8 million. That case is Dalton et al. Versus Fifth Third Bank, 26.
And if she did this again, why is she not in jail? This thing says she signed and cashed over 251 checks totaling 1.8 million. Let me write a check to my bank. Let me write several checks to my bank totaling $1.8 million. And guess where I'm going? To jail. I'm going to jail. Because that is fraud in the worst way. Huh? So if she did this, and you're saying that she did this and she wrote these checks, was the checks made out to Tiffany Henyard? They said Tiffany Henyard, signed by Tiffany Henyard. When she went to that bank teller window and that bank teller checked her ID and then she checked who the check was made out to, she would have pushed her that check back and said, I can't take this check because you can't make out a check to yourself and sign it to yourself. You would just have to withdraw the money. You can't sign a check made out to yourself from your account. You just need to withdraw the money, right? So why would she write $251 checks made out to herself when she could just withdraw the money? Now I'm getting confused as to what really happened. What happened? What actually happened? Because if this actually happened, she should be in jail. Again, she should be in jail. $1.8 million worth of checks made out. It says cashed, signed and cashed. They had been made out to her name. She should be in jail. Am I missing something? I'll make a check. Let me see what she said. I'll make a check to myself and sign it too. My bank accepts it. Now, I ain't never did that. I have always gone into the bank and, well, first of all, I don't even do checks. So years ago when I used to do checks, but now I didn't even know people still write checks. Let me tell you, my mama do, because my mama's like 70 something years old. So my mama do, but I ain't wrote a check, man, good Lord, probably in the 90s. Since the 90s. But every time I've ever gone in there and I didn't know how to do it the first time, the teller said, no, just withdraw the money. You want a withdrawal slip? Here, get this withdrawal slip. Now you fill out this withdrawal slip that with your name, because your name is on the account and you're signing for the withdrawal. Is that what she did? Because if so, she still should be going to jail because those are Village of Dalton accounts. Y'all got to make this make sense for me, because everything this man is saying, this woman should be in jail. But yet they filed this lawsuit against the bank and didn't name her and try to bring criminal charges. They just naming that she did this. She not a part of the lawsuit. She ain't got to show up for the lawsuit. She didn't get served. None of that. But they saying she did this. And it's no criminal charges. Cashback Tiffany. Why haven't we heard anything from Casper to say about it? Maybe we're going to hear it further down in the deposition, child. I write a check to myself from my business. Okay, but the business, right? So the business name is something else. And you're signing a check under the business name. Now that I can reconcile in my brain a little bit. So the bank just gave Tiffany over me. This is what I'm asking. Shouldn't she be in jail? shouldn't she be in jail? And at what point did you all see all of this money coming out and not try to prosecute her for it? I'm just asking. If she's doing all of this illegal activity, why is she not in jail? This is clearly embezzlement. These accounts say the Village of Dalton. They don't say Tiffany Henry. They say the Village of Dalton. So you telling me that she wrote a check to cash in her name from the Village of Dalton account and she didn't have permission to do it. So, and you want to sue the bank and not pursue her criminally or civilly. You decide to go after the bank. Okay, I'm done because I don't know. I want somebody to explain it and make sense.
59, and it's currently pending in Cook County. It was just filed within the last month, and we'll keep you updated as that case proceeds. Obviously, going back to when Lori Lightfoot gave her presentation, she went over the Haynard administration's spending spree. Just briefly, that included over $171,000 on travel costs, over $51,000 spent at local restaurants, over $100,000 on the ice skating rink, and I believe it's way higher than $100,000, and hundreds of thousands of dollars spent on her security detail.
Okay, so let's talk about these numbers. As a mayor, she gets a stipend for certain things. She gets a vehicle stipend. She gets a clothing stipend. She has a health care stipend. I don't know what other stipends she has. How much were those stipends? How much did she get a month for those particular things? And were those numbers deducted from these numbers? What is her stipend? As far as this ice rink is concerned, I'm still not understanding why that ice rink does not have a for sale sign on it. They haven't done anything with it for doing all of that talking, yapping, complaining about this ice rink. They didn't do one thing with it. They didn't put it up for sale. They haven't talked about it. It hasn't been on nobody's agenda. All that complaining about, she spent $45,000 in one day at Amazon and this, that, and that. Nobody talking about putting this on the agenda. Candia, you said you can't because it doesn't make sense. Okay, girl. Okay, girl. I'm trying to wrap my brain. Around why this woman is not in jail from all of these things that they say she is done. When we watching so many people go to jail right now for these PPP loans, for these embezzling money, from taking money from the Medicaid system, from taking money, from the healthcare system and stuff, saying that they did services and they didn't do them. How much were her stipends a month for those things? I don't know how much her stipends were, because she gets a car stipend. She gets a clothing stipend. I don't know if she gets a food, a lunch stipend. I don't know if she gets that or not. I don't know. But if she do, was that deducted from this? Did she get a travel expense stipend? And again, this ice rink has not been on anybody's agenda. It ain't been on nobody's agenda to say we need to sell this ice rink. They could have sold that ice rink and had $1 million to give to the family who done had this judgment since 2022. If the bank accepted a check that Tiffany Wright herself, isn't that embezzlement? Okay, Wyoming guy, I told you. I'm sitting here trying to wrap my brain around why this girl's not in jail. If she stole $500,000 via the bank, was they not even pursuing criminal charges? They're not even pursuing her in the lawsuit. Child, I'm having a hard time.
For Dalton police officers and the overtime for those Dalton police officers for her security detail. And that is just 4 items. Whoever watched or had the opportunity to watch Lori Lightfoot's presentation, there's certainly a lot more. Next slide.
If you're not in the private community, John Casper was given a hypothetical. The hypothetical that he was given was overtime hours for police. McGrath literally asked him if they go over the payroll budget, the budget that's budgeted for the police, if they go over it via overtime hours, where does the money come from to pay the overtime hours? The answer this man gave was diabolical. I think they want to make her responsible for as much as possible to get her to be afraid, to try to get her to flip on a bigger target. Candia, I can see that. I can see that. The only problem is you have your own accountability to deal with as well. We should be holding you accountable as well. Because if you voted to pay the bills and you saw these checks on there and you didn't take them off, because you would have to go through the physical motion of saying, I don't want to pay this, I don't want to pay that, I don't want to pay this, I don't want to pay that, to have it on record that you didn't want to pay it, but she cashed it anyway. Embezzlement. Boom. Here we go. On record, on paper, paper trail. Writing a check to myself on my business account isn't embezzlement for me because my business, because of how your business is set up. I believe that's what you're trying to say.
And for more details on how and when the village went from millions of dollars in reserves to being millions of dollars in deficit, you can refer to Lori Lightfoot's January 27th, 2025 final report, which can be found.
I don't think that report is on the Dalton website under that transparency tab. Hold on one second. Stand back because I'm going to check. Because there's some things missing from that website now. Hold on one second. I'm going to check right now. Okay, I'm clicking on the transparency tab for the Village of Dalton. Financial records, elective administrative officials. Let me see. Freedom of information. I see budgets. They only got budgets up here through 2022. I see the audits only through 2020. They still behind on the audit. I see they got corporate bills up here just to 2018. I see expenditures up here from 2021. Hold on, what's this, right? Okay. Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund, Village of Dalton Public Financial Records, 2022 to 2025. Actually, they only have till 2024. They do have the warrant list back up here if you can access them, okay? They do have the warrant list back up here now. The firefighter contract is up there. Productivity report. Finance. I think these are the board, the little committees. Okay, Lori Lightfoot report is at the very end. Ooh, child, it took me a long time to get there.
On the village's website under the transparency tab. And I strongly suggest for all of you to take time and look at that and go through that information. So that's somewhat of the financial background that you are probably familiar with in following the news, reading the papers, talking to your neighbors, and coming to these meetings. Next slide, please.
Attorney, if I can, I want to jump in before going into the case specifically.
This was hilarious to me. This right here, This was hilarious. When Jason did this, I fell out in my chair. I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna let you listen to him.
A few points that I do want to, I guess, maybe update or highlight. We mentioned on some of the challenges with the vehicle leases and leases that were improperly signed. So it was mentioned the word repossessed. We voluntarily gave back many vehicles that had bad deals on them.
So did nobody tell Jason that even if you voluntarily give back a vehicle, it's still a repossession? It's a self repossession, right? Did anybody tell him that? No? Okay. All right. Let me fast forward. I got fast forward because that cracked me up. I don't know if it cracked you up, but
We'll
it cracked
take
me up.
responsibility for finding the solution and getting things fixed. Thank you, Attorney.
I would also just mention this board is worked really hard and have made great strides and good decisions in becoming more fiscal responsible. Even under the prior administration, no one knew how many credit.
While Miguel, we are not told what accounts these checks are written from, whether it's general fund or in some other account. We're not told. When I write a check to myself from a business account, it comes out of members draw. We don't know. Yeah, wow, Miguel, allegedly. We gonna talk about that.
For the different village employees, so they got rid of all the credit cards, and it means contacting the credit card company, putting a stop to it, then finally getting all the statements and looking at what was spent on.
Now let's talk about the credit card situation right quick. So the credit card situation, when somebody swiped the card, the bill is automatically paid, right? So that will be John Casper's department to alert them when somebody is overusing the credit card. Not him. He just watched the credit card get swiped, and ain't said nothing. Matter of fact, stop sending them reports. Tiffany told him to stop sending them the reports, and he stopped.
That was insane. Just insane. There was all kinds of vendors, including dash camera recordings, audio recordings relative to the pursuit. The plaintiffs then served a copy of that court order to the village to produce those dash camera and audio recordings from the pursuit. The village and the
Okay, he talking about that. We already know that they did not preserve the evidence, so that's how they got the judgment.
duty to settle within the policy limits. And as you can see, the mayor and the board of trustees.
Okay, so this was a letter. See, I didn't see this earlier because it was going so fast. The relevant principles recently outlined in Rogers Cartage Company versus Travelers Indemnity Company 2018 are well established as insurers. You must give at least equal consideration to the insured's interest, given the nature of the damages which will be put before the jury. There is a reasonable probability of a judgment in the excess of limits. There have been demands within policy limits. As a matter of law, you have a duty to settle within policy limits. Miss Theory, Mr. Rose, and I are preparing for trial. We can no longer serve as settlement conduits. The village demands that you work directly and immediately with plaintiff attorneys to settle this case globally within policy limits. John B. Murphy. Hold on, I'm trying to see something. Okay, we could get, I'm trying to see. Now, why did they not put the name of the insurance company in this letter? Matthew D. Rose. See, this is the thing. Why did they not put they named the case Rogers Cartage Company versus Travelers Indemnity Company are well established as insurers, you must give at least equal consideration. See this right here? You showing this letter, but when did you write it? What happened to the grant money? We don't get to know none of
At the
that.
time were carbon copied on that letter. Next slide. A few days later, John Murphy wrote again to the same insurance carriers.
Okay, he wrote again to the same insurance carriers. Guess what we cannot see? This letter. It's illegible. They putting up letters that we cannot even clearly see. Why not have copies of these letters to pass out to the residents? You can you see it? Who can see it? Can't nobody see that.
Again, renewing Dalton's demand to settle this case within the policy limits in its entirety.
You showing us a letter that we cannot even see to tell us. Who can see that letter? Y'all let me know. I feel like this is a David Copperfield situation. We are being given sleight of hand right now because I cannot read that letter. You're saying that this is the letter that you wrote to the insurance company. We can't even read the name of the people. It looks like, see, on the left, it's addressed, should be addressed to the insurance company. We can't even see it. It's blurred. This is some, you know what? Why we can't see this letter? If I was a resident in there and I was a resident there, I'd be like, do you have copies of this letter? Because this is not a good copy. We cannot see. When did you write this letter? Who did you write it to? We can't even see who you wrote it to. You claiming that you wrote this letter to the insurance company. It's not even legible. It's not legible. The highlighted part is harder to read than the non-highlighted part. I can't read none of it with my 6 eyes. Do you hear me? With my 6 eyes, I can't read none of it. How do we know that you wrote this letter to the insurance company? We can't even read what it say, period. I don't know about this one.
The insurance carriers refused to settle the case within their coverage limits. So the case proceeded to trial in July of 2022.
And I'm still confused as to why an insurance company would refuse to settle. Once the people say they're willing to settle for this amount, you got the amount under the insurance, you're going to raise the village premiums anyway. Why wouldn't they pay them? The mere fact that I can't read this letter makes me feel like you're not telling the truth.
Next slide, please. At the trial, the village was represented by outside counsel. The trial issues were two. One, did the officers act willfully?
And then they tell on themselves and says, prior to opening statements, plaintiffs offered to settle between 6 to 8 million. The carriers rejected this settlement range.
Willfully and wantonly. Was their conduct willful and wanton?
I don't know what happened, but I don't feel like that's what happened. I don't know if you with me on that, but I don't feel like that's what happened.
That the officers involved didn't violate the law as far as the pursuit, which is good news. The bad news is that the jury found the village liable as to the negligent spoliation of the evidence claim.
That was enough, because that was enough to get them a $33 million settlement. So I don't care what they got, what they didn't get convicted of. They still got that $33 settlement. The village, represented by the insurance carriers, appointed law firms, filed multiple post-trial motions and appeals. All motions and appeals were denied. Look at how they drug this out. Look at how these lawyers drug out this case, charging the village invoices after invoices after invoices. During the years of this post-trial litigation, interest accrued in the excess of $1.6 million. So they $1.6 million per year. $2 million per year, he said. Now look at them. They have $40-some million.
Next slide, please. Under that case.
So they sent, so their lawyers sent a discovery for assets to see why the village was not paying, if the village could pay, and all of that.
And the case is still open. The village provided all the financial information that was requested. The village gave a
Again, insurance carrier. Why we can't know the name of the insurance? The village's bad faith claim against insurance carrier for not settling the case when the case could have been settled before trial, during trial, post-trial. Village agrees to turn over the village's bad faith claims to plaintiffs in order to satisfy the judgment. Plaintiff's attorney believed this cause of action could result in verdict judgment of $100 million. Good Lord of mercy. Specialized litigation plaintiffs and village retain outside firm from Kansas City. So another lawyer, the plaintiffs and the village, the plaintiffs and the village, another lawyer, another bill, when you could have just paid them that $375,000 from the Post House and maybe stave this off for a little bit and say, you know, we are working through some things. Can you work with us if we pay you this?
list of village-owned properties, including abandoned warehouses and
Lord, now this man, this what took me out. This what took me out, and I'm done. This is what took me out. Oh, I gotta tell y'all one last thing. McGrath says that they got together a list of abandoned properties to show the families, to sign over to the families for this $33.5 million debt. Now, you owe me money and you want to sign over to me abandoned properties that I now got to pay the upkeep, that I got to pay property tax on. How is that a win for me? Why would I want an abandoned building that is dilapidated and then the village gonna start fining me for the building? Why would I want that? How do that make sense? Who would agree to that? Who would agree to that? Who would agree? I owe you $33 million, but I own all of these abandoned properties. I take you around and I say, I can sign over this one to you, this right. This, I mean, don't worry about the building. The building falling down and it's nothing. It's not no value to you. It's falling. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. Don't look at that. But I can sign over this property to you. And if you want to go up the street here, we're going to go up the street here a few blocks. And I got another abandoned building with an abandoned building that's right behind that abandoned building. And that all can belong to you. I can sign over that to you. You know, yeah, I can sign over that to you. And this is the taxes that you're going to have to pay on it, though. And the village got building codes. So if you're going to keep these buildings on this property, then you're going to have to fix these buildings up. And oh yeah, no, if you're not going to keep the building, then you're going to have to pay $25,000 per building to demolish it and then remove the debris. Explain to me how that's a settlement. Huh? You going to take me around and try to give me your problems and tell me you paid me. Lord, I can't.
vacant land.
Yeah, well, I'm a guy and said it with a straight face.
And I personally went out and showed those properties to plaintiff's counsel and the real estate team. Some of those properties could be transferred, titled those properties transferred over to go towards the judgment that's outstanding.
I don't see how that, this is cracking me up. If I was the family, I'd be like, I know you effing lying. I know that man and say, I know you lying. I know you lying. I know you lying because now I'm going to be responsible for some property taxes on some land every year. So I'm going to lose the property that you supposed to have gave me for a settlement to property taxes. Because ain't a gosh darn thing on it. And who is buying property in Dalton right now? One last thing that I want to say.
The plaintiffs haven't.
They said that it will be entered as a judgment. If the bond is given to the family, it'll be entered on your property taxes, and property taxes will go up. And they had a
The counterclaim,
they had a payment list showing you what it would go by, what it would go up by. The other thing that I found interesting about this video, and I should have listened to it so I could find it.
and the report shall also include
So these were the options. The options were to renegotiate. The options were to go. It seemed like to me to go into some sort of conservatorship, but I was wondering why none of the options were to reduce the staff. Because where did this community liaison position come from? There's somebody in that position. His name is Marcus, and he is being paid to be the community liaison for Dalton. What do he do? That salary could be gone. There's a PR firm that gets, according to their contract, $4,000 a month plus for different services and fees. Why could that contract not be renegotiated? There's a chief of staff. What do you need a chief of staff for when you have a village administrator? That position could go away. Why was the option not to look at, okay, how can we trim down the salaries that who can be, you know, what we need to do to get rid of so we can get some room here? That was never an option. Also, if you go and look at this video, because we about to get out of here, the last thing that I want to say, because I don't believe that they have a real plan. Their plan is to stall and to make the family more frustrated. But there was something interesting said in this video, and I want you to go and find it. McGrath states that the village of Dalton is 5 months behind on water payments. Jason has no litigation, but the village is 5 months behind on water payments. What does that mean? It means that Tiffany paid the water payments on time every month and every year that she was in office. The last 5 months was the clean house administration. Now you can't blame that on Tiffany. They are 5 months behind. That is the clean house administration. So you mean to tell me that Tiffany was on time with the water payments for the entire 4 years that she was in office? I got a lot of questions about, did she do all of the things that we thought she did? Or were we just told that she did those things? Those are the questions that I have. But I want you to run back through that video from last night, and I want you to listen to McGrath say it. I'm going to clip it, and I'm going to post it on my channel. Why are they behind 5 months now on water bill payments, but you bought the Pope's home? It's just a question. I think it's a fair one, and I think it should be answered. Y'all let me know. Go to the video and find it. It's towards the end where he says they are 5 months behind on the water bill payment. This has been an insane recap, finding out all of the things that we found out. have loads of questions. Loads of questions. I'm going to leave you with this mystery. I need somebody to answer this mystery for me. I'm going to ask you a series of questions. At the meeting, I think it was Tammy Brown, gave her village address, her village email address out. And the extension on the email address was .org. Why was it, or why is it not .gov? Because they're a government entity, right? They're political figures working for a village. Why would you have a .org and not a .gov? We're going to answer the question, but that's a question that I have. Why would the website be a .org and not a .gov? I want you to think about this as well. .gov denotes a governmental entity that is not private. So it can be FOID for, right? A .org denotes a private entity that is not necessarily subject to FOIA. So my email as a governmental official ends in .org. Who actually owns the website if it's a .org and not a .gov? These are all questions. My mind be racing. So just questions. Because it ain't a government. Just an entity. Is that for the village email? Yes, ma'am. These are all questions. I want y'all little investigators yourself. I want you to go out there and find out what that means. Why would that be? All right. Next time I see y'all, we're going over the ballot. We got a synopsis of everyone. We're going to talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, who we would vote for. We're going to talk about these referendums. All of that. Okay? All of that. Thank you guys for hanging in with me tonight. We are done. I'm sorry that this video was so long, but we needed to go over those things and have those things running in our mind, thinking about those things. Okay? I'm done with the Jet 2 holidays. We out of here. Listen, thank you for tuning in. Like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next one. The next time I see you, probably going to be Thursday night. Hopefully, if everything goes well. I got a few things I got going on. I got to be up in the morning. I got to be up in a few hours. Okay? Thank you guys for tuning in.